The lonely human. The classroom was quiet. All the students had left, but Jake stayed behind. He sat alone near the wide glass window, looking at the stars outside. The alien planet had 3 moons. They moved slowly across the purple sky. Jake missed Earth. He missed his mother's cooking, his dog Max, and the sound of rain. This world was beautiful, but it never felt like home. The seats in the classroom were made for taller bodies. The walls were filled with strange glowing symbols. The teacher, a tall insect-like alien, had finished the lecture on galactic diplomacy. No one had noticed Jake didn't leave. He liked staying behind. It was the only time he felt alone and safe. Suddenly, he heard soft footsteps. He turned. It was her. Lyra. She wasn't like the others. She was quiet, always watching. Her skin was soft silver, her eyes deep green like ocean waves. She never spoke much in class, but she always looked at him, like she was trying to understand him. Tonight, her eyes looked different. Serious, almost scared. "What are you doing here?" Jake asked, his voice low. Lyra stepped closer. "I could ask you the same." "I like the silence," Jake said. "No one stares at me when I'm alone." Lyra tilted her head. "You don't belong here." Jake gave a sad smile. "Yeah, I know." She walked slowly to the table in front of him and placed something small and glowing on it. It looked like a crystal, blue, pulsing with light. "What's that?" he asked. "It's for you," she said. "You don't understand now, but soon you will." He laughed softly. "Is this some kind of alien prank?" Lyra didn't laugh. She looked at him with serious eyes. "Do you have strange dreams?" Jake blinked. "What? Do you see things before they happen?" His heart started beating faster. He had never told anyone. But yes, sometimes he did see things in his dreams, like warnings. He always thought it was just stress. "How do you know?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she walked behind him and placed her hand on his shoulder. Suddenly, the room became dark. Not just dark, but silent. Too silent, like sound itself had disappeared. Jake looked around. The glass window turned black. The stars vanished. He stood up. "What's happening?" Lyra's voice came through the silence. "You've been marked, Jake. I saw it the first day you arrived. I didn't know it would grow so fast." "What do you mean? What did you see?" "I saw light in you, but also danger. You are not just a human boy. Something old is waking up inside you." Jake stepped back. "Are you trying to scare me?" "I'm trying to protect you," Lyra said. The crystal on the table glowed brighter. It lifted into the air and floated toward Jake. Before he could move, it touched his chest and disappeared inside him. His body felt hot, then cold. Then something flashed behind his eyes. For 1 second, he saw a giant shadow, burning ships, people running, and a voice that said, "He is the one." Then everything went normal again. The stars came back. The window was clear. The classroom was just a classroom. Jake fell to his knees, breathing hard. What did you do to me?" Lyra knelt beside him. She touched his wrist. A glowing symbol was now there, faint, but alive. "You were chosen before you came here," she said. "I only helped it begin." Jake looked into her eyes. "Why me?" Lyra's face softened. "Because you were alone, and I was the only one who saw it." Outside the classroom, a loud alarm suddenly echoed through the hallways. Lyra stood up fast. Her calm expression was gone. "They've detected the mark," she whispered. "They will come for you now." Jake's heart dropped. "Who will come?" Lyra looked at him one last time. Her voice shook as she said, "The ones who fear you." A mark in his mind. Jake didn't sleep that night. After what happened in the classroom, his body felt different. His skin burned. His mind was heavy, full of flashing images, of fire, of alien voices, of strange planets. And that symbol glowing on his wrist, it hadn't faded. It was brighter. He stared at it in the dark. What did it mean? Why him? The dorm room was cold, filled with quiet hums from alien machines. His roommate was gone for the weekend, so Jake was alone. He sat up in bed, his hands shaking. He could still hear Lyra's voice in his ears. You were chosen before you came here. But that didn't make sense. He was just a normal human student, part of the first Earth Alliance exchange program. He wasn't special. He didn't have powers. He didn't even get good grades. So why had Lyra marked him? He grabbed his tablet and tried to search alien databases about symbols on the wrist or ancient alien marks, but everything was locked or written in a language he couldn't read. Frustrated, he looked in the mirror. That's when he saw it. His eyes. For a second, just 1 second, his pupils glowed with a faint blue light. He stumbled back. What's happening to me? Suddenly, a sharp pain hit his head, like a knife. He dropped to the ground, screaming silently as images pushed into his brain, uninvited and wild. He saw a tall tower of black stone. He saw creatures made of light kneeling before a human. He saw Lyra, standing in front of him, her face covered in tears. And then he heard it. A voice. Not his own. Not human. The key has awakened. The stars will burn again. Jake gasped and opened his eyes. The pain was gone. But now, the fear had begun. Morning. Alien Academy, South Dome. Jake walked into class like a ghost. He was pale, sweating, and couldn't stop looking at his wrist. The mark was still there, but now it moved. The lines twisted slowly, like it was alive. No one else seemed to notice, until he looked up. Lyra was watching him again, but this time, she looked afraid. After class, she tried to walk away. Jake followed her. Wait, please, talk to me. She stopped, her silver skin catching the blue light of the hallway. I shouldn't have done it, she whispered. I broke the rule. What rule? No contact, no bonding, no marking. Jake was confused. But you said I was chosen. I saw it in your aura. I thought I was helping you, she said. But now, I think I've started something I can't stop. Then help me understand. Lyra looked around. The hall was filling with students. Too many ears. Meet me tonight, behind the old observatory. Come alone. Before Jake could ask more, she vanished into the crowd. That night, behind the observatory, the moons were high. The alien trees around the observatory glowed softly, lighting the path like stars on the ground. Jake waited in the shadows, nervous. What if this was a trap? What if someone else followed him? Then he heard footsteps. Lyra appeared, wearing a dark cloak. She didn't smile. Her eyes were hard. She raised a small device, and a glowing shield wrapped around them, blocking sound and vision. No one can hear us now, she said. Lyra, I need answers. She nodded and opened her hand. A memory orb hovered above her palm, an alien device that stored personal thoughts. See what I saw, she said. The orb flew toward Jake and touched his forehead. Suddenly, he was inside her memory. He saw young Lyra, just a child, touching a giant book made of light. The book spoke of a human, a boy born on Earth, who would carry the mark of balance. A human who would be the bridge between dying stars and rising empires. He saw Lyra grow up, watching for signs. Then she saw him. Jake. Back in the present, Jake fell to the ground. Why me? He whispered again. Because you're not just human, Lyra said. You're part of something older. Something our leaders tried to erase. Jake stood, still shaking. You think I'm some chosen one. That I'll save the galaxy. I don't know if you'll save it, she said. But I know others think you'll destroy it. Jake's heart stopped. What do you mean? There are factions. Hidden powers. They watch the stars for signs. You are the sign. Then she pulled back her sleeve. A mark, just like his, but dim, almost dead. You're not the only one marked, she said, but yours is alive. Mine is fading. Yours has awakened, far across the planet. In a black chamber under the Royal Council's base, a shadowy figure watched a screen. A picture of Jake appeared, blurry, zoomed in from a security camera. The mark on his wrist visible. Confirmed, the figure said. The human has been marked. A deep voice replied from the shadows. Then begin the hunt. He cannot reach the threshold. Back to Jake. Lyra looked up at the stars. Her voice was low. Once they know what you carry, they'll never stop hunting you. Jake looked at his glowing wrist, then back at her. Then you better not leave me alone again. She looked at him. And for the first time, she smiled. The hidden code. The next morning, Jake didn't feel like a student anymore. He walked through the academy halls, but the lessons meant nothing now. Words floated past him. Teachers spoke of planetary trade laws, alien politics, starship physics, but none of it mattered. All Jake could think about was the mark on his wrist, still glowing faintly, and Lyra's words from the night before. You carry something they fear. She had shown him her own fading mark. She had warned him about those who hunt the marked. And now, even walking to class felt like walking through a trap. He noticed the way some students stared at him. Were they watching him before, or was he only noticing now? Later that day, Jake waited near the east corridor, just as Lyra told him. The corridor led to the ancient part of the academy, once a temple before it became a school. That area was closed to students now, forbidden. But Lyra knew a way in. She appeared silently beside him, wearing the same dark cloak from last night. Follow me. Don't speak. She moved quickly, and Jake followed. They passed an old library, then down into the deep tunnels beneath the main halls. The walls were cracked. The lights buzzed dimly. No one had been here in years. Finally, they'd reached a locked door. Lyra placed her hand on a stone beside it. The door melted open. Inside was a memory vault, the vault of echoes. The room was round, with floating crystals all around. Each crystal held data, visions, and memories from the ancient days, before the Galactic Council, before the peace treaties, before humans had even entered the stars. Jake looked around in awe. What is this place? Lyra answered softly. It's where they keep the truth, or at least, the pieces they didn't destroy. She walked to one of the oldest crystals, large and cracked. It pulsed as if it had a heartbeat. This one speaks of the first code, she said, and of the key. Jake stepped forward. The crystal began to glow brighter as he neared it. Lyra's eyes widened. It's reacting to you. Suddenly, the crystal floated toward Jake and touched his forehead. A vision exploded in his mind. Inside the vision, Jake saw stars being born, then dying. He saw great wars across space, civilizations falling. Then, a voice spoke. In every age, a child of both stars and soil will rise, marked not by blood, but by balance. The vision showed a human and an alien standing side by side. Behind them, galaxies aligned. Then, a shadow appeared, a council of robed beings. They screamed, no balance, no union. Destroy the key. The vision ended with the image of a human boy's hand, glowing with the same symbol Jake now carried. Then everything went black. Back in the vault, Jake stumbled backward, gasping. Lyra caught him. You saw it. He nodded, still shaken. What does it mean? She looked afraid. It means the stories were real. You are the key. Jake shook his head. But I don't want to be some prophecy. I'm just a guy. Lyra stepped back. They won't care what you want. They'll come anyway. They'll erase you. Jake looked at her. Who are they? Lyra's voice dropped. The Silent Council. Jake frowned. Never heard of them. You're not supposed to. They don't exist, not in public records, but they control the galaxy from the shadows. When they find something they fear, they delete it. Jake felt a chill. And I'm next. Lyra nodded. Unless we find the full code first. The one thing that can protect you. Outside the vault, an alien drone hovered past the ancient library. Its red eye blinked. It scanned for energy signatures. Something old. Something forbidden. It found it. The vault's energy spike had been recorded. The drone flew off to report. Back with Jake and Lyra. Lyra led Jake deeper into the vault. They found broken machines, torn records, shattered memory crystals. But then they saw it. A message half buried in dust. An alien language carved in stone. Lyra read it slowly. The code lives in the blood of the marked. But only when bond and belief combine will it unlock the gate. Jake looked at her. What gate? Lyra looked confused. I don't know. But the bond. Maybe it means trust. Maybe something between us. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then the stone pulsed, just once, and the wall behind it shifted open, revealing stairs going even deeper. Jake blinked. What now? Lyra smiled, nervous. Now we stop being students. Jake stepped down the stairs first, the glowing mark on his wrist lighting the way. Meanwhile, high above the academy, in a stealth ship hidden in orbit, the drone's report arrived. A tall alien with 4 eyes stared at the screen. He wore the symbol of the Silent Council. He narrowed his eyes at the image of Jake. The human boy has found the Vault of Echoes. Another voice replied, cold and sharp. Then destroy the school. Burn everything. Back below, Jake and Lyra didn't know what was coming. They only knew this. The galaxy had secrets. And now, they were part of them. Betrayal at midnight. The academy looked peaceful from the outside. Silver towers reached toward the sky. The moons glowed above like quiet watchers. Alien students walked through glass halls, laughing, studying, living as if the galaxy wasn't about to change. But deep underground, Jake and Lyra were running through tunnels no student had ever seen. The wall behind them had shifted, revealing ancient stairs. They walked down, deeper than before. The air turned colder. The stone around them grew darker. Strange lights flickered on their own. The symbol on Jake's wrist pulsed with every step. He held out his hand to light the way. Where are we now? Lyra whispered, This is below the vault. Even I didn't know this place existed. The stairs ended at a metal door. On it was a shape, a perfect match to the mark on Jake's wrist. Jake raised his hand. The door clicked. It opened slowly. Inside was a small chamber filled with air so still, it felt like time had frozen. In the center was a floating cube. It spun slowly, covered in alien symbols. Jake stepped closer, but the moment he touched it, a voice screamed inside his head. You are not ready. The bond is weak. The blood is uncertain. He fell back, clutching his ears. Lyra rushed to him. Jake. I'm fine, he gasped. It spoke. Lyra touched the cube carefully. It didn't react to her. Only the true marked can open it, she said. But it's not ready. Maybe you're not ready. Jake sat against the wall. What do? We train. We learn. And we stay hidden. But they were not hidden. Not anymore. Elsewhere in the academy. Gorin moved silently through the academy halls. He was human. Tall, thin, with sharp eyes that always watched everything. He was one of the Earth Exchange students like Jake. But unlike Jake, Gorin didn't come for peace. He came for rewards. And someone had paid him well. He touched the side of his neck. A hidden comm lit up. The marked one has been located. Send payment. The voice replied. Deliver him alive. Then you will have more than credits. You will have power. Gorin smiled. Consider him delivered. Back underground, Jake and Lyra returned to the surface through a forgotten hallway. They were quiet, careful, checking every corner. They thought no one saw them, but Goran was already watching. That night, Jake tried to sleep, but the cube's voice echoed in his mind. Bond is weak. Blood is uncertain. He didn't understand. Why wasn't he ready? What did it mean? Suddenly, crash. His door exploded open. Goran stood there with 2 armored security bots behind him. Jake Carter, you're under arrest for accessing restricted alien tech, Goran said coldly. Jake stood up. You reported me. Goran smirked. Don't take it personally. You were always meant to be a tool. Jake tried to run, but the bots grabbed him. Goran leaned close. They'll take you to a lab. You'll be studied, maybe broken, but don't worry. It won't last long. Jake struggled. Where's Lyra? Goran just laughed. Don't worry. She'll join you soon, or die trying to protect you. In the prison wing, Jake was thrown into a small energy cell. He hit the floor hard. His wrist burned with the mark, hot, like it was alive. He sat up, breathing hard. I trusted him. He was my friend. Suddenly, a voice came through the wall. I told you, you can't trust them. It was Lyra. She was in the cell next to him. Lyra, are you okay? I followed the bots. Tried to stop them. They caught me too. Jake leaned against the wall. Goran betrayed us. I know, she whispered. He's working with the Silent Council. Jake's heart dropped. So they're here. They never left, she replied. They've been watching this academy for years, waiting for the mark to awaken. Jake closed his eyes. They'll take me soon. Cut me open. Use me. Lyra spoke softly. No, we won't let that happen. But how? Suddenly, the lights flickered, then went out. A moment later, the power grid failed. Emergency alarms rang out. Red lights flashed. Sirens screamed. Doors unlocked. A group of rebels, students and teachers from alien races, charged into the prison wing. One of them disabled the energy cells with a pulse bomb. Lyra and Jake jumped to their feet. A cloaked alien pulled back his hood. He had old scars and glowing eyes. You must come now, he said. There's no time. Who are you? Jake asked. I'm someone who still believes in the code. And you are the last key. Jake looked at Lyra. She nodded. They ran. Outside, the academy burns. Explosions shook the towers. The Silent Council had launched an attack to erase the truth. Fighters screamed across the sky. Students ran. Lights failed. Walls cracked. In the chaos, Goran searched for Jake. But Jake was gone, vanished into the smoke with Lyra and the rebels, deep in the wilds of the planet. Hours later, they stopped at a hidden camp. Lyra helped Jake sit. He looked at her, eyes filled with questions. She said nothing. Instead, she took his hand. The mark on both their wrists glowed, not bright, but together. Something shifted in the air. Something ancient. Lyra whispered, "The bond has begun." And far away, in a chamber beyond stars, the cube awakened. The blood memory. The sky was still dark when Jake woke up. He had slept on the ground, wrapped in a thermal blanket, far from the burning academy. Around him, the rebel camp was quiet. Alien tents stood like soft domes, glowing faintly under the stars. He looked over and saw Lyra sitting alone by the fire, her eyes fixed on the flames. She hadn't slept. Jake got up slowly and walked to her. "You okay?" Lyra nodded, but her face looked older, like she was carrying a weight too heavy to speak. Jake sat beside her. "What now? We run forever." Lyra didn't look at him. "No, we remember. That's the only way forward." Jake was confused. "Remember what?" She turned to face him. "The truth about who we are. The blood memory ceremony." Later that day, the rebel leader, an ancient alien named Sovan, gathered them around a circle. The rebels had found a relic deep underground, a blood memory stone. It was alive, breathing, pulsing with old energy. This stone holds pieces of our shared past, Sovan explained. You and Lyra must enter it together. Only bonded minds can survive the memory. Jake looked uncertain. What if it shows something we don't want to see? Then you'll finally know the truth, Sovan said. Lyra reached for Jake's hand. He took it. They stepped into the circle. The stone glowed bright white. Then everything disappeared. Inside the blood memory, they stood in a different world now. Not real, but not fake either. The sky was red. Mountains floated in the air. Rivers of light moved across the ground. Before them stood a memory, a moving vision, a war. Humans in ancient armor fought side by side with aliens, Lyra's people. They fought against a great shadow, something dark and endless. At first, they were allies, brothers. Then, the betrayal. Jake and Lyra watched in horror as humans turned on their alien allies, stealing ancient tech, burning cities, breaking the bond of trust. A council of alien elders screamed, the humans must never return. Then came the command, erase their names from the stars. Let the new generations never remember. The vision changed again. Jake saw a mother of Lyra's race holding a human child. She hid him, protected him. She was punished. Then Lyra appeared in the vision, as a child, touching a glowing book. Jake saw himself, years before he ever came to this planet, already written in that book. A child of broken blood will carry the light of both. He will return the bond, or burn it forever. The vision ended. Back in the real world, Jake fell to his knees, gasping. Lyra stood still, tears running down her cheeks. So it's true, Jake said, barely breathing. Humans destroy your people. Not all of them, Lyra whispered, but enough. Jake looked at his hands. Then why trust me? Why help me? Lyra knelt in front of him. Because I saw you alone. You were kind. You looked lost, just like we once were. And deep inside, I felt something. Jake reached for her hand again. The moment they touched, both their wrist marks glowed, together. Not just light. Harmony. The awakening. Suddenly, a shockwave spread through the camp. The cube, the ancient device from the vault, was waking up. It had followed Jake's blood. It hovered into the air, spinning faster and faster. Everyone gathered around. Sovan stepped forward. It's reacting to their bond. This has not happened in 1,000 years. The cube opened. Inside was a small sphere, pure white, glowing gently. It floated toward Jake. Without thinking, he touched it. A surge of knowledge hit him. Not pain, just truth. He saw star charts, locked gates, forgotten planets, and codes in old languages. He saw a path. Lyra touched the sphere next. Together, they saw a symbol, an ancient door hidden on a moon that had been lost from all maps. The path to the threshold. Sovan whispered, that moon holds the answer. If you reach it, the code will decide if you live or fall. Jake looked at Lyra. Then that's where we go next. Lyra nodded, but they will follow us. They won't stop. Jake stood tall for the first time. Then we won't stop either. Meanwhile, far away, on a black planet with no name, the silent council gathered in a circle. A hologram showed Jake and Lyra touching the sphere. One of the council members growled, they've activated the blood path. Another replied, they must not reach the moon. The threshold must remain sealed. Send the hunters. Back to the camp. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He stared at the stars, the mark on his wrist still glowing gently. Lyra came to sit beside him. Are you scared? She asked. He nodded. A little, but I'm more tired of running. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Then tomorrow, we fly. Jake looked at her. Do you think we'll make it? She didn't answer right away. Then she said quietly, I think, as long as I'm with you, we have a chance. She stood against her own. The transport ship shook as it rose through the planet's thick blue sky. Jake sat strapped into a chair, his hands gripping the seat. He wasn't afraid of flying. He was afraid of what waited ahead. They were headed for the Forgotten Moon, a place lost in galactic records, only shown to them through the blood memory. Beside him sat Lyra, silent, staring out the window. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled. She wasn't afraid of the council. She was afraid of what she might have to do. Because to reach the threshold, she would have to betray her own kind. The message. Mid-flight, an alert flashed on the ship's console. Encrypted message. Lyra opened it. A hologram of her father appeared, tall, noble, dressed in ceremonial armor. Lyra, come home now. The council has spoken. The human must be delivered to them. If you return alone, you will be forgiven. If not, you will be hunted. The message faded. Silence. Jake looked at her. Is that your father? She nodded once. He sits on the outer ring of the council. Jake swallowed. They're giving you a choice. Me. Or them. Lyra didn't answer. She stood up, walked to the cockpit, and locked the message away. Then she returned and said, there is no choice. There's only what's right. Jake didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. But inside, his chest burned, landing on the Forgotten Moon. The ship touched down in a valley covered in white ash. The sky above was silver and still. Cracked towers of an old civilization lay half-buried in dust. This was the moon they had seen in the vision. Somewhere here was the threshold. Lyra led the way, her mark glowing with each step. Jake followed, holding a small device from the blood sphere. It blinked faster the closer they got. Suddenly, a beam of red light hit the ground in front of them. They stopped. From the cliffs above, a dozen alien soldiers appeared, warriors from Lyra's world. Tall, armored, deadly. Each carried a plasma spear. One stepped forward. His armor was white and gold. Her father. The confrontation. He looked down at Lyra. His voice was cold. You shame your blood. Lyra raised her head. I follow the code, the real one. You follow a boy, a human, one of the destroyers. Jake stepped forward, but Lyra raised her hand to stop him. She walked closer to her father. You once told me, she said, that real loyalty is tested when it costs something. I did, her father replied, and now it costs everything. He raised his hand. The soldiers aimed their weapons. Jake shouted, Lyra, get back. But she stood firm. Then she did the unthinkable. She dropped her cloak. Underneath, she wore the mark of balance across her entire arm. Not just her wrist. Her whole body glowed with the same symbol Jake carried. Gasps came from the soldiers. Her father took a step back. You marked yourself fully. I accepted the bond, she said, her voice steady. And the code accepted me. You've joined with him. I chose him, not because he's human, because he's worthy. For a moment, the world froze. Then, her father gave the kill order. The escape. The first plasma bolt flew. Jake grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her behind the rocks. The soldiers followed, fast and trained. But Jake's mark glowed brighter now. He saw their moves before they made them. He guided Lyra through the ruins, ducking, rolling, dodging bolts as if time slowed down around him. Lyra used her spear to block 2 attackers and knock down a third. We can't fight them all, Jake shouted. We don't need to. Lyra yelled back. We just need to reach the gate. The device in Jake's hand blinked faster, then showed a symbol glowing under a pile of stone. The threshold. He pointed. They ran. The warriors followed. The gate of stars. They'd reached a giant arch buried in the ground. The top was broken, the stone cracked, but the symbol on their wrists lit up, and the arch came alive. Blue light spread through the cracks. The air turned electric. The warriors arrived, but stopped. The light burned them. Only Jake and Lyra could pass through. Her father stepped forward. "If you go through, you are no longer my daughter." Lyra looked back at him, tears in her eyes. She said softly, "Then let me go as something more." Jake held out his hand. She took it, and together, they stepped into the gate. Somewhere beyond, they fell through light, then landed in a quiet chamber, ancient, still, untouched for thousands of years. In the center was a throne. On it sat a human, but not alive. A statue, a memory, the first marked one. Jake stepped closer. His mark burned hot. Lyra whispered, "This is where the code began." And on the wall behind the statue were the words, "Only bonded hearts can awaken the truth." Jake looked at Lyra. She looked at him. Then everything around them began to rise. Walls lifting, stars spinning, a machine waking from sleep. The night she chose me, the chamber was alive, not with machines, not with sound, but with memory. As Jake and Lyra stood before the ancient statue of the first marked one, glowing symbols lit up all over the walls, thousands of lines written in languages long forgotten. A deep hum filled the air. The floor beneath their feet vibrated. The threshold had opened. Jake's heart pounded. This was it. Everything. The mark, the visions, the hunters, the betrayals had led to this. The voice of the code. Suddenly, a voice filled the chamber. Not from the air. Not from speakers. It spoke inside their minds. "You have crossed the stars. You have carried the mark. But only truth will complete the bond. Will you give yourselves, not to power, but to each other?" Jake looked at Lyra. He had no power, no weapon, no plan. Only her. Lyra stepped forward. Her voice shook. "I accept the bond." Jake took a step too. "So do I." The moment they spoke, a bright blue beam shot down from the ceiling, surrounding them. The final test. The voice returned. The bond will now be tested, not in mind, not in body, but in choice. The light around them split. Jake was pulled to one side, Lyra to the other. Two separate chambers formed. Alone, a figure appeared in front of Jake. It looked like his mother, her kind smile, her soft voice. But he knew it wasn't her. "You can return home, Jake," it said. "The galaxy is not your war. Go back. Be free." At the same time, Lyra stood in front of a figure that looked like her father. He opened his arms. "Come back to us, child. Leave the human behind. You still have a future with your people." Both of them stood still, torn. Jake looked at the image of his mother, then down at his wrist. The mark pulsed slowly. He whispered to himself, "I was never meant to be a hero." Then he turned around and ran back toward the chamber, the light between them. At the same time, Lyra turned her back on the figure of her father. She stepped into the light. And Jake did too. The chamber exploded with brightness. The symbols on the walls shot into the air, forming a spinning circle of knowledge. Memories, codes, maps, and languages flowed into the central device, the heart of the threshold. A beacon shot through the sky above the moon, a signal traveling faster than light. Every world across the stars received it. Not a weapon, not a threat, a message. In every corner of the galaxy, alien races paused their wars. Humans looked up from their homeworlds. Old leaders and secret groups stared at the stars in silence. A message rang across the systems. The bond has returned. The balance lives again. And with it came the ancient knowledge the galaxy had tried to erase. The truth about what was lost and what could still be built. Together, back at the threshold, Jake collapsed to his knees, exhausted. His head was full of light, his veins burning with the energy of ancient knowledge. Lyra rushed to him, falling to her knees too. "Jake, are you okay?" He smiled weakly. "I saw it. All of it. The beginning. The fall. The second chance." Lyra touched his face gently. "You passed the test." Jake whispered, "No, we did. The final stand. But peace never comes easy." Above the moon, a black ship arrived. The Silent Council. They had tracked the signal. The moment they landed, soldiers poured out, weapons raised. Jake and Lyra stood at the gates of the threshold. The council leader, robed in darkness, stepped forward. "You've awakened something dangerous, girl. Give us the boy." Lyra stepped in front of Jake. "No." The leader's voice hardened. "He is a key. Nothing more." She held Jake's hand tightly. And then she said it, loud and clear. "He is not a key. He is not a weapon. He is mine." The mark on her arm blazed to life. Jake's mark did too. And the threshold responded. A wall of energy rose between them and the council. The soldiers tried to shoot, but their weapons melted in their hands. The leader screamed, "You've doomed us all." Jake stepped forward. "No, you did that when you tried to erase the truth." The return. The Silent Council fled. Their time was over. The message from the threshold continued to spread, offering forgotten knowledge to those who sought unity. And Jake and Lyra became something new. Not rulers, not gods, but symbols of a bond once lost and now found. 1 year later, Jake sat on the same hill where he and Lyra first landed after escaping the academy. He stared up at the stars. Behind him, he heard footsteps. Lyra sat beside him, her silver skin glowing under the twin moons. "Still thinking about that night?" she asked. Jake smiled. "The night everything changed." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "No," she said softly. "The night I chose you." Jake looked at her, his heart full. And this time, he didn't feel like an outsider. He felt home. The end